Hi there. This is Colin with Math Physics Academy. Got my chalkboard behind here, which I would love to talk more about in a future video. Got this piece of furniture, which you can only see part of, that maybe I can also talk about in a future video. But today, I just wanted to talk about some of the human background to Math Physics Academy. Don't mind me reading too much, if you will. In my first two video presentations, I focused on Math Physics Academy's goal to revolutionize, if you will, math and physics education. In particular, I imagine my primary audience for those presentations is composed of others versed in various math and physics parlance who also desire to build a new curriculum. This new curriculum remains nebulous and shall reveal itself over time. In this video, I would like to reach a more general audience. After all, if I truly believe we should be teaching first-year students quantum field theory, I may need to go as far as to aid in preparing secondary school students and their teachers for this giant leap. Allow me to introduce myself for just a moment. After secondary school, I entered university as a physics and mathematics student. I began tutoring about halfway through my university degree through the College of Science, and this is where my journey in educating others really began. I had friends and peers who also did this. I seemed to believe I would be able to do a pretty decent job at this sort of thing. Practice proved otherwise. Without embarrassing myself too much, it took me some time and effort to be able to be of any help to any student who came through the door, not just the ones who thought like me or had a decent handle on the material already. It takes some practice to do anything well, and I'm only human after all. Following my university degree, I entered a master's program in mathematics where I thankfully could teach part-time as an assistant. My first class was a Calculus 2 recitation, essentially your run-of-the-mill integral calculus problem-solving session. It might not sound like your kind of fun, but I found it to be an incredibly fun challenge. By this time, I had made loads of mistakes as a group and one-on-one tutor, so the biggest leap for me was projecting to an entire classroom of about 40 students. I managed to luck out with the anxiety portion because it all melted away on the first day upon speaking the first few words. I know not everyone shares this experience, but I want to encourage people not to give up on themselves too easily when it comes to educating others as well as themselves. Even if you have failed repeatedly, you're still capable. If you do not want to learn calculus or anything like that, though, I will not judge you. I will only insist that you are capable. I recall on a random shuttle ride I took from Salt Lake City, Utah to Jackson, Wyoming, a woman insisting that she tried and came to the conclusion that past a certain point in math, she just cannot learn it. I silently disagreed. I believe she is capable of going further. I do believe we as humans are all capable of grasping that which seems to fascinate the mathematicians and physicists amongst us. Most of us will not make it to the frontier, and most of us do not really care to anyway. Most of us will not break new ground or contribute fundamentally to these fields, and that is okay. To each their own. No matter who we are, learning these things takes time. And even if we may not be born with great ability, we all stand on the shoulders of giants, and we are all part of the same human pursuit of knowledge and understanding. I continued my master's teaching most semesters. In my first summer, I studied quantum field theory in a reading course for the first time, albeit at an incredibly basic level. And I took my time that summer reading through the very first chapters of Rider. I cannot describe the feelings I felt. In the early AM on July 4th, 2012, I watched a live internet broadcast from CERN where they announced the highly anticipated preliminary results that they had discovered a Higgs-like particle. Something like 5 years later, I finally began learning about what I witnessed that morning. It felt buried. It felt like I found what I was looking for. This was the first time I was reading a physics book where all my seemingly pointless math coursework actually came in handy. I do not regret the strange path of coursework I took, but it certainly could be better streamlined and stitched together. I think it is fair to say I bring a lot of experience in rabbit holes, spontaneous journeys, and nomadism. Throughout it all, I have formed various beliefs and opinions about all this and all that, and my hope is that I can healthily channel these experiences into fueling a new era of math and physics education. Now, where was I? That's right. Finally, I had found it, quantum field theory. And since then, of course, you have to add to your library. Very wonderful set of books here. Just a few of the QFT related books that I own. After my master's in mathematics, I found myself in another master's program, this time in physics. Perhaps at a future time I can explain this choice in further detail, but for now, the viewer and listener is fully welcome to speculate. At this time, I should probably come out and say it. I have multiple personalities. There's the shy, humble, occasionally clueless mathematician, and there's the cluelessly curious, boisterous, and borderline brash physicist. This cannot be going anywhere good, you might think. Full disclosure, I have, on what I count as about 3 occasions, behaved regrettably as an educator. Each of these 3 occasions was from my physicist personality. I will not go into detail. I hope the students who witnessed these particular events are well and have moved far beyond these incidents. Indeed, these events are in the past. We shall not dwell, but I must admit to my shortcomings here. Educating others is stimulating, or at least can be, and without proper self-control, the educator may let their emotions get the best of them, as I did. The worst that happened formally was an apology and some reprimanding. In a few moments, I would like to share a couple of tips for educators who are early in their careers, be they grad students seeking to do research or industry, or primary school teachers, or somewhere in between. At the very least, I'm grateful to have learned the lessons I have from these experiences. Note to self, it serves to have a good handle on your math and your physics personalities. Well, that being said, during this time, I also repeatedly tried to improve my approach to teaching the first semester physics lab that I mentioned in my very first video. I like to think I had improved quite a bit from the first semester to the last semester I taught that particular lab. But especially with ChatGPT and other LLMs out there these days, there's only so much I can do as an educator. I do not have the answers as to how to educate alongside LLMs. It is more difficult than the challenges posed to educators by the internet. Of course, there are benefits too, but the organization and evaluation of education must adapt in order to allow for the passage of knowledge from one generation to the next. Otherwise, we are all at risk at succumbing to the LLM disorder. It has been over 13 years now since CERN's announcement of the discovery of a Higgs-like particle, and the extent to which the world has changed and is continuing to change cannot be understated. We've even detected gravitational waves since then. Both the teacher and the student have been affected by incredible change, and we must work together to adapt. I plan to continue my math and physics journey wherever it takes me. Math Physics Academy is not my full-time gig, nor do I expect it to be. I'm making these small contributions out of passion, and I find great contentment in doing so. I'm grateful to have the ability and the knowledge that I have, and I hope that with a bit of time and effort, that I may be able to pass this knowledge on to others. I did say I want to give some tips to educators early in their career. I'm sure you can find better tips elsewhere, and further, I'm sure those who are hiring you have access to better education tips. What I am sharing here arises from personal reflection and feedback from others. These are not going to be in any particular order, and I encourage the viewer or listener to keep in mind that much of my experience as an educator up to this point in time has been as a graduate teaching assistant. The teacher-student relationship is not an adversarial one. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't have some kind of sparring going on, but any such sparring should be thoughtful and controlled. Even if you are just a grad student, you are capable of doing too much, not just too little. Take care of yourself and maintain a handle on your well-being. Obviously, easier said than done. Standing up in front of a classroom of people and leading a discussion, laboratory, etc., brings challenges that I personally had little to no experience with prior to beginning teaching, even with a few years of group and individual tutoring experience. If you're at all like me, you underestimate the importance of taking care of yourself mentally. Your health will manifest itself in your behavior, whether you like it or not, assuming you are human. If you prefer not to live with the memory or memories of acting regrettably, then seriously take care of yourself, mentally and physically. Remember your own journey as much as you can. This may be difficult depending on how long ago the journey was and whether or not you have reflected much upon it. Try not to dwell. Just take note of what helped you along the way, be it methods and techniques, or the way someone treated you when you were just learning how to crawl. It could be helpful to document this on some level so that when you inevitably do forget crucial aspects, you have some kind of record of those invaluable lessons. Breathe and try to distribute your weight equally. As long as you are breathing, you're doing okay. If you have intense feelings for whatever reason, try not to react to them, not only for the sake of the student, but also for yourself. If you feel shaky or anxious, adjusting your stance or adjusting your sitting so that you are better distributing your weight can help ground you, no pun intended. I hope some or all of these may be useful to others out there. Best of luck to all the beginning educators. Have patience with yourself and your students. Everything I have shared here comes from my own lived experience, both as a teacher and as a student, and I have not conducted any careful experiments to confirm or support any conclusions I may have already made. I acknowledge many others out there also desire to build a new curriculum with their own approaches and opinions. I hope to encounter more perspectives on pedagogy in mathematics and physics, and I welcome feedback and criticism to my proposals and opinions, ideally in constructive form. Thank you for checking out Math and Physics Academy. I hope you will consider subscribing or following us on social media. Thank you.